Okay, I am Dr. Ann Wolf, Associate Professor of Teacher Education at the Ross College of Education. And I'm here speaking with Steve Piscitelli, the Scholar in Residence for the Ross College of Education. And Steve, I'm going to let you introduce yourself to our audience and give us a little bit of
Yeah.
background about.
Well, thanks, Ann. I'm a professor of history and student success and education courses at Florida Community College in Jacksonville, Florida. It is soon to be known as Florida State College at Jacksonville. Um, Been there, since 1988, teaching with them. Um, but I've really moved more and more into the area of student success courses, writing, speaking, and the like, really over probably the last decade or so. And that's become my main focus and my love.
And so in terms of student success, are you working with for all your students, more with the freshmen?
Great question. Actually, the student success courses that we have, they're modeled loosely after the programs that are orientation courses for four-year schools. But more and more we're moving into it's the first semester student or the second semester, but we're trying to get them the first semester. And there is a specific course, a student life skills course that I teach with that. But your question is an interesting one because even though I'm working with that course, when I'm teaching a history course, I'm still teaching the student success skills, incorporating them within the class itself, within the content area. And I think that really makes a nice marriage between the content and the skills. So we've got the knowledge base and the skill base, which is going to help them be more successful. At least that's my hope.
Yes,
That's
yes,
my hope.
definitely. Well, I know that another part of your background is working in a little bit with music because I've seen you present, and you include your guitar and you do some singing
Yes.
in your presentations. Can you tell how you got to there to include that in your presentation?
It's an interesting road. It really is. I've always been interested in music. I am not a musician by any stretch of the imagination. I have been blessed to be with some great friends who are just superb musicians and entertainers. And I've always been on the periphery with my buddies in that respect. And about 6 or 7 years ago in Atlantic Beach, where my wife and I live, Atlantic Beach, Florida, I started up a community program for songwriters. It was just a place for people to come and get a chance to play in front of folks. And these were generally amateurs. Well, I actually organized it and brought it to life over the first 3 years, and then I stepped back from it, had other projects and interests. And once I stepped back, I started writing myself.
Oh my goodness.
And it was interesting. I said, I'm going to have some fun with this. I like to write songs that are humorous.
Yes.
And so the first song I wrote is titled "The Dot-Commies Are Coming," and it is about plagiarism in the classroom. And so it's poking fun, but with a message.
Yes.
And then that followed up with the end of the semester blues, about all of the last minute students trying to see if they can fix it at the very end, and how professors have tried to deal with that. And once again, good-natured fun. And then it just evolved from that. And within about 7 months, I had enough material for my first CD. And I started bringing the guitar to different programs because I'm saying, we talk in education, we talk about multiple intelligences, Howard Gardner's theory. And I said, well, let's bring it in. Let's bring music in. Even though I'm not a musician, we can still bring it in. You can have some fun. It is an icebreaker that usually catches attention. You've seen at least one of the programs,
Yes.
and it's usually within the first 3 minutes I'm singing a song. And it catches attention because most people, especially going to education workshops, don't expect that.
No.
And so immediately they're up and they're ready. And I think that's one of the things I'm trying to get across. That's what we want to do in a classroom.
Definitely.
We want to be able to, and it's not the entertainment factor, although that's there, but it's just trying to grab different pieces of attention and then helping the audience, whether it's a conference keynote or a group of students in a classroom, to try to get them to come in and start picking up on this. And it works. It's fun. It works.
It makes me think that this is a really easy way to allow children,
Yeah,
or
sure.
students to take a risk in your classroom.
Yeah, well, I think immediately what it does, like for instance, usually it's the second class of the semester in my student success classes in particular, the guitar comes in, and it's built around a program. And that's the first week. And so, as you know, as a professor, they're trying to figure out who you are, and everybody's trying to get comfortable. And I finished that particular lesson. I pull it out, and I have a new song that I've written, and I'm going to do it tomorrow in one of the sessions. And this one is not a humorous one, unless people like to laugh at my singing and guitar playing. But it's all about dreams and why some of us reach them and some of us don't. And so I play that one for him, and it's really bringing the lesson to a nice crescendo in that this is about your semester and what you're going to do to get what you want in life and out of this semester. And so then I actually had this term, I had this wonderful student with wonderful voice. And before I was done with the song, she's singing the chorus with me. Never heard the song before, and it was just wonderful.
Wow.
The students went crazy about it. They loved it, and they were applauding and cheering and hooting and so I said, what a great way. And that class has been just absolutely magical this term. It's been really a great class.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to segue into the presentations that you're doing for us tomorrow here, Lynn. And I wanted you to share with us what you think is our students or the teachers that are going to come. What is it? What's the message that you want to share with them? 3
different messages. We have 3 different programs, right? The first one, I'm doing effective teacher, motivated student. It's geared towards instructors, but there will be a message for the students in there. And it is, in essence, when we go into a classroom as professors, what should we do? What should we be mindful of? And the 3 things that I'm going to put forth for the faculty there is that when students come into our classrooms, we should honor their past, what they bring to us. The good, the bad, the stuff that needs tweaking. We should celebrate the present, everything that they do well and not so well. And we should help them look to the future. That's the dreams part. On the student side, it's about 3 other things that dovetail nicely, and it's about ability, desire, and connections. And for the students coming in, do you have the ability to be where you are? And if you don't, if you're lacking, maybe it's in reading, maybe it's in math, maybe it's in critical thinking. If you're lacking, then what can you do to do better? And the second part of desire, one of the things I'll mention is it's great to have desire. And we hear a lot about people who have potential and ambition. But if they don't put it into action, it doesn't go anyplace. So we want to talk, how do you get the desire that you have and really make it a burning in the belly passion? And then the connections. There is, and a point I'll make tomorrow, that it's been said in the literature that students many times who leave us in the first or second semesters have not actually ever arrived. Oh. They haven't, their mind has not come here. The culture is not familiar enough with them, and they haven't been able to adapt or adopt to it. And people smarter than I have been saying that, but it's interesting if we can look at that. So what kind of connections can we help students make, and what can the students do to build the connections to their class, to their course, to their major, to the campus, to the college, to the community? I mean, you can go on and on and on. So that's the first program. The second one we're doing with the small group of students is about music in the classroom. And just going to go through some pretty basic stuff about what you can do in the classroom, why we would use music, what are some of the risks of music. And then I've got some samples that I want to show them that I've used and then get some of their input. It's going to be a real, almost like a round table with that group. I'll have my guitar, obviously, in all of them, and we'll try to incorporate that. The last session in the afternoon, the choices you make. That one that's for anybody. That's for a student, that's for a professor, that's for staff, that's for the people who help park today, for the events that you got on campus. And that's all about how do we maintain balance in our lives? How do we stay healthy? How do we stay well? How do we stay in a concentrated, focused state when we've got so many things bombarding us? And I'm going to throw out some ideas, but it's going to be more stirring the pot for some questions for the audience to continue to ask themselves. And in all of the sessions, I hope to get people interacting as well.
Do you find that helps the session go well if you can get the audience?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, well, you were at the CRLA conference, and we had some great people that got up involved. We had, what, 400 or 500 people in the audience, and it's always a bit, from my perspective, a little bit intimidating. You got 500 people sitting there, and you're wondering, okay, how am I going to connect with them? I'm used to connecting with 30 or 40 in the classroom. And it was so amazing. Those people were great. It was a great audience. As a comparison, about 3 months ago, I was in Vegas, had a speaking engagement in Vegas, and I walked into the room I was going to present in, and it was by far the largest room I had ever seen. It had to be half the size of the state of Nevada. It was amazing. It was just huge. And the audience that I spoke to at that venue was the toughest audience to deal with. I mean, they were great people, but I think what happened, they were swallowed up by this room and they were totally intimidated, and it was hard to get anybody to stand up. And I was trying to tell them, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but it was a tough crowd to work with, and I think they were just so intimidated. Other than that, and even them, they got up.
Sure.
So I think the music is a way to get people up. It definitely is. And any kind of interaction, and from being in the classroom, the engagement is so important. And I think I got tired over the years of hearing people talk about how we should teach, and I would hear things like, well, you shouldn't lecture for an hour, all right? Students should be involved.
Right.
But every time I heard someone tell me that, they told me that for an hour.
Interesting.
They never modeled what they were saying we should do. So in a small way, I'm hoping to do that tomorrow, and let the people know that I'm in the audience with you. Right. I want to learn from you, and we're going to be together for an hour, 2 hours at a time. Let's have some fun with it. Excellent. And that to me is the important thing in a classroom. If we can have fun in the classroom with a serious outcome, but fun, man, let's go for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I know a lot of the times I tell my teacher education students, you have to be a model for your students.
I have to.
And you're going to show them exactly what I keep saying, and actually I model it too. Being in literacy, I get to read books and say, okay, now pretend you're fourth graders. And so it sounds like that's the same things we're going to go.
We're going to try. Yeah, we're going to try.
I mean, have to be fourth graders, but we certainly are going to be part of this audience.
Well, sometimes, I don't know, I think maybe we should be fourth graders. I mean, they know how to play, they know how to have a good time, they're curious.
Absolutely.
I've got a good friend back in Atlantic Beach who's a reporter for our local paper, and I remember him telling me one time, he said, I can tell when an intern comes in within 5 minutes if this intern is going to be successful. And I said, wow, that's pretty good. And I said, what is it? He said, it's one thing. Have they asked me a question in the first 5 minutes? He said, if they want to be reporters and can't be curious enough to ask me a question, I question whether or not they should be in this business. And I said, well, that's really interesting. And so that curiosity the fourth graders have,
yes,
that
definitely.
It somehow gets stymied, stilted, killed along the way. Something happens.
Because you see it too in your student success courses.
Oh, in all history class, education classes, yes, no question.
That's so interesting. The other question I have for you is, as you think about the future and think about your student success courses or your teacher education courses, what do you think is going to happen to the idea of music? I hate to talk about the high stakes testing, but I think it's something that's out there. And certainly in education, we hear about it almost every day. And music and art and those kinds of activities, yes.
They end up getting pushed to the side.
And that's why I thought it was so valuable that we had the workshop to let our students know music can be interwoven.
Yes.
And so where are we going with that? What's the future look like?
The only thing I know is what I read in the papers myself, and in talking with colleagues who are still in the public school system, the K-12, and especially in the state of Florida with the budget shortfall, and I know in Duval County, where Jacksonville is located, and I'm forgetting the actual numbers, but I think we're talking for this coming year $130 million. I mean, that's more than turning the lights off when you go home. Exactly. There are so many things, and it's going to take people smarter than I to be able to prioritize what has to be done. And I think it's unfortunate that the music will be lost, right. Or might be lost. I can't say for sure. I'm not saying they're going to cut the music, but we hear those things. Sure. that's where I think it becomes important for those of us who aren't music instructors. I'm not a music instructor, not a musician, but we can bring it into the classroom and we can still keep it going because our students are into music. Might not be what you and I like or would listen to, but they're into music.
Right.
So can't we use the classroom to tap that in a little way? I was doing a program last week and talking with a psychology instructor, and he was telling me that he uses, I think it's called Rhapsody, and it's a subscription service that when students come into the classroom, he always has some music playing for them, which is not an unusual thing. Sure. People listening to this, you probably have had teachers do that, or if you're an instructor, you've done this. But he says one of the things that really is interesting is that when it does happen is that the students, first they come in and it's just kind of like little self-conscious, and then they move into and they say, you know what, I got a song that you can play. And so then the students get involved. So if there's some way we can do that, that would be great.
Well, it certainly makes a connection, and
that's what we're trying to do.
That's what you're going to be trying to do with us in the presentations that you're doing here at Lynn University. And I think to end the conversation, I just want to ask you if there's something more that you wanted to share with the people who are in the Department of Education, our future teachers, our future educational leaders. We also have a program, a master's program in special education. Mm-hmm. What can you share with these people who really believe that the field of working with children is where they want to be?
Well, a couple of things. It's a great field. And I started teaching at the middle school level, 7th grade, and just moved along at different. I did high school, college, and it's a wonderful to be in the classroom. If we can put everything else aside, yes. To be in the classroom with students and making that personal connection. To me, there is nothing like it. That's why I like to speak with an audience. That's why, as we were talking earlier, I don't want to be up on a stage with a podium. I want to be down on the floor with the audience. I like the personal connection, ability, desire, connection. And if you're getting in with my education classes, one of the things I ask them to, at the beginning, in various different activities or ways, but do you like people? If you don't like people, we don't want you in our profession. You got to like people. All right. So I think that's critical. I think also because there are so many demands on educators that there has to be a way that they know how to keep their life dimensions in tune. That's what we're going to talk about in that afternoon session tomorrow. It's just critical. We have to do it. I'm fortunate. I got a wonderful bride of 33 years that it's nice to have that kind of support. Right. But if you don't have it, if Andy doesn't have it, if you don't have it, where do we turn to? And so we want to talk about that tomorrow. And the last thing I'd mention is something that a colleague of mine, he's a fellow author within Pearson Prentice Hall. His name's Rob Sherfield, just a wonderful individual. And Rob, we did a program together a couple months ago, along with Amy Baldwin, another one of our authors. And he said something to the audience that really is so simple, but it is what we should pay attention to, that when students come to college, they come for one of two reasons. And if we can keep this in mind and help the students keep it in mind, then they can focus. One is, it's either they're coming for a dream or they're coming because of a problem. They're coming to fulfill a dream. They want to be a production executive. They want to be a musician. They want to be a teacher. They want to be a doctor. They got the dream. Or, in a lot of what we see at the community college, they've lost a job. They need to be retooled. That's a problem. Or they've been divorced. Or now everybody has left the house and it's my time. Okay? And so if we can keep that in mind and help the students figure out that if you're here for a problem, no shame. That's good. You're here. Let's work on that. And it comes down to a question I give to every single one of my classes at the beginning of every single term. And I keep on coming back to it. In fact, I have a stamp with the initials that I put on their papers every so often. And this question is simple. What are you doing to get what you want? What are you doing? So it's responsibility, keeping the dream alive. What's the action you're going to take to make the dream a reality? And as educators, what are we doing to help that? And then as the student, what I'll try to get across to the students, what are you doing as a student to make it happen? Yeah, we're not going to, It's your dream.
Yes.
Would love to be along with you, but you got to do
You
it.
have to work at it.
Yeah, and the other thing, I'm very thankful for Lynn to bringing me in. This is a wonderful opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to it. Very humbled to be part of this program, and but I appreciate. I'm glad we met at CRLA,
Yes.
and I'm looking forward to working with your group tomorrow.
Well, I would like to thank Steve Piscitelli, who is the Scholar in Residence for the Ross College of Education, on March 26, 2009 at Lynn University. We're going to be hearing Steve Piscitelli talk to us about working with students and motivating them, and also how we keep our own health.
That's right.
as we
That's right. And thank you very
continue in our
much.
journey. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Dan.